Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody? Thanks for jumping in and joining us here on this last minute live to discuss something I feel like is pretty breaking news and indicative of the fact that I think Alec Baldwin may be facing some criminal charges here soon in connection with the Rust shooting that resulted in the death of Helena Hutchins. And today we're going to talk about why I feel that way, what indications are bringing us there, some more obvious than others. We'll talk about how this process may work, why it took so long, and then, of course, answer your questions at the end of the video. A little bit later this afternoon, we had a video planned, which we are still going to do, just talking about kind of what our plan is with the hurricane. A lot of you reached out, which was really nice, to ask me kind of what I'm doing, what our firm's plans are, if we're going to stay safe, how we stay safe here in Florida with hurricanes coming our way. So we are going to do that at 4 o'clock Eastern time if you want to jump back in. Then we are going to do another live later today. It'll be a little bit more relaxed and probably not focused on a specific case, but today, right here and now, we have been following this Rust case since its inception, literally, since it happened. We've followed the interviews. We've had gun experts. We've talked about the medical examiner's report. We talked about the experts for the government and how they looked at the gun and what they found with the gun. And everything is really pointing towards at least some kind of criminal charges coming down the pipe here for Alec Baldwin. So what has happened recently to add fuel to that fire? Santa Fe prosecutor has gone and asked the state board for financing. And how much did they ask for? How much does it cost to prosecute a case like this? Well, first, let's talk about the fact that they indicated there may be 4 different defendants. They indicated that they may need a special prosecutor. They may need special experts. They're going to be fighting high-powered defense lawyers. So they asked for $635,000 from the state, from the citizens, $635,000 to prosecute this case. And that doesn't necessarily include the state attorney's office, the attorney general's office, the normal workers that would work on the case. This is pretty much considered extra stuff. $635,000. And the prosecutor said they are considering murder charges. They are definitely considering gun charges. And like I said before, there are 4 different defendants. They don't name who those defendants are, but they're obviously asked, is Alec Baldwin going to be a defendant in this case? And the prosecutor said, they're certainly considering that, and he is one of the possible defendants. Now, that's far from a confirmation. However, if he wasn't going to be a defendant, I think she probably would have said he's not going to be a defendant in the case. Because leaving that open is just causing all sorts of speculation like this. But she gives us other indications as to why I believe criminal charges will be coming against him. And that is, she specifically says she is going to need this money because of the Hollywood defendants, the high-powered criminal defense lawyers, the experts they're going to have. And those were the specifications and reasons she gave for asking for $635,000. Now, the question is this necessary? What did the state say? Did they approve it? Did they give her what she's asking for? Did they cut it? Did they make her explain more? They picked a number, which, if you're good at math, it's pretty much just cutting $635,000 in half. And I believe they awarded, is the words they used, $317,000 for the prosecution of this case. And that $317,000 is going to go towards a special prosecutor. So let's talk about what a special prosecutor is. A special prosecutor means usually somebody outside the district attorney, state attorney, attorney general's office, outside of the normal people that would prosecute this case. A special prosecutor can and has been a private lawyer in the past. And maybe they had somebody specifically in mind when they submitted this request to the state board saying, this is how much he or she charges, and we want to hire them, and it's going to cost $300,000 to hire them to prosecute this case. Maybe they gave an hourly rate. But it can be a private lawyer. It can be, if anybody watched or followed the Britney Spears case, Matthew Rosengart, former federal prosecutor, now has gone out into private practice. My dad, former state and federal prosecutor, prosecuting huge cases like this. Sometimes they go out on their own. They become defense attorneys. They become civil attorneys. They become private attorneys. But they may be the right guy or gal for this job. And they can reach out to a private lawyer or a federal prosecutor that's still a current federal prosecutor, or a prosecutor from another state, or whatever it may be. But they want to bring in a special prosecutor, somebody specifically to prosecute a high-profile defendant like may be involved in this case. If you haven't already, hit that like button like Donnie Ewing is saying, and the Herm Dog. Hit that like button as people continue to funnel in. We're going to talk about this a bunch. If you just got here, you didn't miss anything. I actually started a couple minutes late because we were trying to set up this live. I was taking calls and everything happening kind of at once to try to get this going as quickly as we can. And I'm sure most of you will be part of the rewatch crew. And if you are, hit that like button and leave your questions in the comments. I'm going to go back through later and check them out. So many of you astutely understand what it's like to handle and prosecute these cases, as you've seen in other cases, civil and criminal. How many experts can be called in a case? How much money those experts make, right? Because in the Johnny Depp case, and in every civil case, they ask, how much money have you been paid by this side or that side? And we know that it's in the tens, 20s, hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay these experts to dig in, come up with their opinions, have their deposition taken, and then testify at trial. So part of the $317,000 that was given to the prosecutor to prosecute this case against 4 defendants will go towards hiring the best experts they can. And as we all understand, prosecutors are the ones that make the decision whether or not to charge a case. And when you have somebody like Alec Baldwin, who has been pretty vocal publicly, if you get this wrong and you prosecute him and you screw up and you shouldn't have prosecuted him, that doesn't just mean you lose, but let's say a witness changes their statement or gives an under oath statement to law enforcement and they should have known that Alec Baldwin was not criminally culpable in this case. We've had that happen to somebody before and we've sued for it. You better believe Alec Baldwin is going to have guns blazing, everything pointed at anybody that tries to accuse him and prosecute him of a crime. So you have to be sure. You have to be sure. And how do you be sure? You get the best special prosecutor you can and the best experts you can to prove the theory in your case that you believe to be true in order to get justice for the citizens of your state and the victim, in this case, Helena Hutchins and her family. So when we talk about why this money is necessary, they want to get it right so it doesn't come back and explode in their face, basically. And they don't have egg on their face, as people say. Yeah, Valerie, good point. Guns blazing, maybe not the best pun in this case. I wasn't trying to make a pun. But yeah, everybody, guns blazing, is that how we got here? You guys are listening to every word. That's good. So we're also not just talking simple charges. As I discussed off the top, the prosecutor is considering literally the most serious charges there are, murder charges. Could Alec Baldwin be charged with murder? They're also looking into gun charges. And they also have said that they haven't even gotten the full law enforcement report yet. But the state's financing board did feel it was necessary to give them extra money, and not just some extra money, hundreds of thousands of extra dollars to prosecute what they're calling a high-profile criminal case. And the prosecutor did indicate that regardless of any reports or things that haven't been done, she is indeed ready to file charges. It's not just it may happen, she is ready to file charges. That's the other thing. The state financing board is not going to give you this money if you're not going to file charges. This money is better spent elsewhere. So basically, charges are coming. That's how we can look at this. Charges are coming, and they're going to be serious criminal charges, and they're going to be against high-profile defendants. And let's not forget that Gutierrez Reed, the armorer in this case, also has Hollywood connections, family money potentially, not going to go quietly in this case, not going to admit any fault in this case. They are all going to fight liability tooth and nail, as they should, if they are going to plead not guilty, continue to say they are innocent and that they didn't do anything wrong. I also think that there's going to be a lot of finger pointing, and they may have to sever some of these trials and handle them separately, which, as we know from the Valo Daybell case and how their prosecutor explained it, can cost so much extra money for the state. So that's always something you have to think about. There's not going to be joint defense agreements here, I don't think. And if you want to know what a joint defense agreement is, my dad explained it in another video on our page. Go check it out. Subscribe to The Lawyer You Know, and you'll get all sorts of videos like that. Literally citing well-paid attorneys, which is, to me, an interesting argument to ask for extra money. So this is something that does happen once in a while, especially in smaller states or counties where you ask for more money. But theoretically, the state attorney's office and district attorney's office and attorney general's office, and federal prosecutors are supposed to be funded to handle these cases, right? Like, the state already pays the state attorney and experts through the state. That happens in every case that needs an expert. So this is above and beyond. This is something that is unusual and that they have to actually ask for to get this additional funding. And whatever the state attorney put in that letter worked, because she was given hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was approved, at least in part. And that $317,000 doesn't just go to prosecute these charges, but also to continue to investigate, apparently. So although she's ready to file on 4 defendants, the investigation continues and the work continues on this case. And this is, again, investigation and work that is on top of not only the state attorney's office and the prosecutors, but also on top of what the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office has already done. They've already done a lot of work on this case. They've already spent a lot of resources on this case. So this is all above and beyond the normal money and resources, which is thousands and thousands of dollars as it is on the case. So if we were to guess who the 4 defendants are, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of 3 of them. I think Baldwin is going to be one. I think Gutierrez Reed is going to be one. I think those are the 2 most obvious. And then I think the assistant producer, David Halls, I think his name was, or Halls or something like that, the one that actually handed Alec Baldwin the gun, I think that's number 3, criminal defendant-wise. But I am not sure who the 4th one is. So if you guys have any idea of who the 4 defendants are going to be, put them in the chat now. Put them in the comments below if you're part of the rewatch crew, because I want to know who you think that 4th defendant, or if you agree with me or disagree with me on who the 3 defendants be. Maybe Alec Baldwin's not one. Maybe the prosecutor used Alec Baldwin's name to get more funding. Maybe the prosecutor is going to file against 4 other criminal defendants and continue to investigate against Alec Baldwin. That is a possibility. That is absolutely a possibility that we need to continue to investigate before we file charges against Alec Baldwin. So if four criminal defendants are charged and Baldwin is not one of them, may not mean it's over for him still. Because maybe that's what most of this money is going towards. Which is why leaving that caveat of continuing to investigate as part of the necessity for this money leaves that door open. The gun maker, somebody said. Yeah, that gun is definitely going to be an exhibit. There's also going to be an opportunity for whoever these criminal defendants are to have their experts go back and take a look at the gun, do some tests on the actual gun itself. So this is going to be an expert intensive case. You're going to need Hollywood experts like we had in the Johnny Depp case to explain how this stuff works on set. We're going to need gun experts. We're probably going to need acting experts on what an actor is supposed to do. We'll probably need producer experts to talk about budgeting and whether this was under budget and whether they kicked safety concerns to the curb. These are all things that cost money. And when it costs extra money, and in case you don't know, the state attorney's office, they have experts they use on lots of cases. They have experts they contract with. They have experts they do volume with, so they get special deals with, whatever it may be. Some even like government experts, like government doctors or whatever, where they don't have to pay anything extra because they're fit into their salary. But in this case, they know they're going to have to go outside their normal Rolodex. Nobody uses that anymore. I never use a Rolodex. And find these extra experts to deal with these specific issues and liability issues in this case. It's going to happen, and they're planning ahead for it to make sure that they can properly prosecute this case. Let's get to some questions. Amy Miller, thank you very much for covering this topic. I live in New Mexico, 1 hour south of where this tragedy happened. Greatly appreciate your objective breakdown. Thank you, Amy. And I do think that the people of this state want to see this done right, and they want to see justice. I don't think they want anybody's, head on a stick or anything like that. I think they want the truth to come out and justice to prevail. And if people didn't do anything wrong criminally, I don't think they want some people to be prosecuted unnecessarily. People like Amy definitely don't want her tax dollars going towards $300,000 of a publicity stunt. So I think that they really want justice done. Rich Cat Ranch is a new member. And when I saw this, I was like, what? And then he commented, didn't realize my membership ended. Hello, Peter, and all the Tragos File friends here. Thanks, Rich Cat. If you want to join, the membership link is in the video description. Expat. Can a case be dismissed if there is no budget for it? So that's a very interesting question. So theoretically, yes, a case can be dismissed for lots of reasons. More likely, the case may not be brought, and it's not necessarily for budgetary reasons, but if they don't feel like they have enough evidence to prove the case, then they shouldn't bring it. So if they can't get expert testimony that they need to explain the criminal culpability, they do not have enough evidence to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. And as a prosecutor, you have to look at a case and you should not file it unless you are very confident you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's really where the budget can come into it, is if you can't get that evidence because of money, then sometimes, yes, a case can go away because of a budget. Be very unusual for them to prosecute a case and then drop it or dismiss it, like this question asked specifically, in the middle of it because of budgetary issues. Shelly Stewart, thank you so much for the super sticker. Lit Real Red, why not the whole amount? It's a good question. So they asked for $635,000 and they gave $317,000. This is the state saying, this isn't monopoly money. This isn't funny money. This is Amy's money, who lives in New Mexico, and other people who live in the jurisdiction. This is their money. They elect us, or at least we're appointed by people that are elected, and we have to look out for them. So we have to make sure the money is spent wisely, and you're only given what you're absolutely in need of. Sherry, I saw that you just showed up. It was a last minute live, so no big deal. You can get your questions in now and go be part of the rewatch crew, which I think most people will watching that. Yeah, Ashley's got to get back, catching me on the next one. All right. But yeah, why not the whole amount? I think it's because they probably looked through a spreadsheet. It wasn't just like, can I have $650,000? They probably said special prosecutor, $100,000, experts, $100,000. Whatever they're going to do, experiments or testing on the weapon, $100,000, flying in or logistics or extra investigative, private investigators, $100,000, whatever it may be. They have a breakdown of what costs what. And this state board went through, they crossed out, used their red pen and said, here's what we can give you. Can you make it work with that? Prosecutor maybe said yes. And there you go. Patty B Photography, Yallow case. I think you mean Vallow case. Can't they record it and play it after the case is over? So no tampering. I was watching the other day, but didn't know if anyone said this. Yes, potentially, but it seems like the judge does not want to allow them to do that with video recording. This is kind of a little subject for the end. So we can talk about it a little bit more, Patty. I see you saying, sorry to go off subject. No problem. We can talk about it a little bit more at the end. If you want to talk Vallow at the end. Corin Ronaldo, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thomas Joseph, yes, we need to hear if this has ever happened before. That need additional funds. So yes, it does. It has happened before. It will happen again. Interesting here. Judy said, here's my guess / hope. AB for pulling the trigger, prop master and armorer for allowing the live rounds on set, the assistant director for handing the gun to AP and calling it cold. What do you think? Yep, I think that's probably kind of where it's going. Michelle, yes, I'll be covering the Crumbly parents when stuff happens. Azam, thanks for the super sticker. Thanks for joining us. What is it? Is it late at night there, I guess? Luke Byram, how do attorneys find experts? That's a great question. So there's a bunch of different ways to find experts, and it matters if you're a private defense attorney or, a government lawyer like a state attorney or prosecutor or something like this. So both types of attorneys will pick somebody that is in the field that has an expertise on what you're looking for. They will ask other attorneys, who have you used? Have you used this person, that person? Are they good? How do they present? Are they likable to the jury, or do they make it easy for the jury to understand? What are their fees? How much do they cost based on how much money, our client may have, or they want to spend on the case, or whatever it is? Budget obviously comes into it as well. Sometimes, like on my cases, a lot of time, if it's an injury case, the doctors, we try to send our clients to the best doctors, or the clients get referrals from their friends or whatever it may be. They try to go to the best doctors that can treat them for that case. And they just kind of automatically become the experts because they're the ones that worked on our clients. They're called treating physicians or hybrid experts. But when you're talking about something like this, or we have a case where we had to get an expert on gym equipment, you do your research, you ask around. There are also some groups that have experts or no experts. You can reach out to them. Do you have anybody that's in this specific field? And then you interview them. And you interview the experts, you talk a little bit about your case, see what their opinion would be, see how they present when you're talking on the phone with them, talk about their fees. And if you feel comfortable with them, then you hire the expert, you engage them, you give them the documents, depositions, photos, videos, recordings, whatever it may be. They give you a report, and then you kind of go from there. But yeah, a lot of it is asking for references, finding somebody with the right resume for your case, and then interviewing them and seeing kind of how they present and how they would do. So to me, it's in the state attorney world, they have a bank of experts that they use, for the most part. But when you have to go outside, they're going to work just like private lawyers do at this point and ask for recommendations, which they'll just, ask prosecutors in probably California as well. They'll get some of their experts, I would guess, based on this case. And everywhere else where they'll have a lot of contacts they can ask, obviously. But it's just almost like hiring an employee, somebody with the right skill to do the job. A good question, Luke. Bev, be safe. Hurricane Ian, Trago's family, praying for safety for you and yours in these stormy waters. Jesus reassured his disciples by his presence, calmed the storm, and strengthened their faith. Thank you, Beverly. And yes, we'll be talking more about Ian and what hurricanes are like in Florida and what we always do before hurricanes. We'll talk about claims probably. That's going to be kind of a more relaxed live later today around in about 5 hours from now. So come back if you want to talk more about that. Thanks, Beverly. Appreciate that as always. Shelly Stewart, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armor. Alec Baldwin, the shooter. Seth Kenny, the supplier. And David Halls, the assistant director who handed the gun over. That's the 4, I think. I think this is probably a pretty good educated guess by Shelly here. So yeah, I think that this is, as I'm scrolling through here, I want to see who else anybody guessed. Yeah, I don't really see anybody else added here. Some people are saying people's titles instead of names, which is totally fine because, I don't know every single person's name, but their working title or job description probably gets a pretty good idea as to what they have to do. And I think most people are feeling the same way about these 4. Rich Cat, yeah, we'll be talking more about Ian a little later when we get another advisory update. We will talk more about that. Donnie Ewing said, will Alec represent himself? Pro se or however you say it? No, he will not. He will hire a lawyer. I'm almost positive. Without actually being there to know, I'm almost positive he will hire a lawyer. Thomas Joseph, can one tell a real bullet from a prop? So we did a video on this with a Tampa Bay area multi-gun store owner, gun expert, whatever you want to call them. So check that out. Go to Lawyer go to the Alec Baldwin Rust playlist and check that out because they explain and show actually what differences are in real bullets and prop bullets. We've talked about that a lot, actually. Stays on the case. I would never point and pull without checking and checking again. This seems to be a common theme here. Let's see what other questions we have. Annie Lee, what scenario could happen if Alec Baldwin is not charged? If he was holding the gun, it seems impossible not to prosecute him, but to charge others. I agree with you, Annie. And if he's not charged, a lot of you are a little quicker to say, oh, this is so unfair, Hollywood getting a free pass. But I think I might be with you if he doesn't get charged and a lot of other people do. So I do think if they're charging anybody, he's probably on the list. So we'll see, though. We do have to see. And to me, it makes sense that he would be charged at least with some involuntary criminal negligence potentially. But I could also see it from the other way where maybe he did everything he was supposed to do and an accident happened and there was nothing he could do to prevent it. He actually did do certain things to prevent it. In that case, he wouldn't get charged criminally. So I think this is going to be a serious battle. I don't think we're going to see any plea deals unless they give him a sweetheart deal like house arrest for 6 months or something like that, and he can get over it. So we'll see, but a lot could happen in this case, a lot. Renee Price, when trial occurs, do you think it'll be on TV? I mean, I would guess yes at this point, because I think if Alec Baldwin really wants to prove his innocence publicly, kind of like Johnny Depp, I know it was a civil case, but he really wanted to prove his innocence and her guilt publicly. Alec Baldwin may want cameras in the courtroom. So we'll see. Rare in the history. Ian Runkle of the Bailey, also did a video on training a complete newbie how to tell blanks from a live, and she did it 100% blindfolded. Yeah, so Ian is a gun guy. If you haven't checked him out, which you probably already have, he's got a big YouTube channel as well. I think it's called Ian Runkle of the Bailey, what Rare in the history just pointed out. Definitely check that out. He's got some more info on a lot of gun stuff regarding this case. Do you think it will change the use of these types of props in movies? Yes, I do. I do. People saying Alec refused training. Alec's already said too much. It's probably true. All right, we're getting close here to the end. I've got a few more minutes I'm going to do for questions. Christine, it's near the end, but you can be part of the rewatch crew, so it's not too big of a deal. Luckily, the YouTubes save these things and pop them up right after they're done. But thank you, everybody, for joining me to discuss this. I thought this was big news. I did not know if any criminal charges were going to come down. It seems like they are. It seems like the prosecutor's already ready to do this. So I did want to jump on here and talk about it as soon as I could. I did not want to wait to talk about it. We are going to get more information coming soon here. We will be covering this case. Let me know if you all are interested in this case by hitting the like button on the video that you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're watching. Hit that like button for us and let us know what you think in the comments. And if anybody you know is following this case, make sure you share this video with them so they can check it out and they can get in the conversation with us as well. There was a question right here. Kristen, yeah, we're talking about criminal cases. There's already a bunch of civil cases, but we're talking about now potentially criminal charges coming for Alec Baldwin and others. But yeah, very interesting stuff happening. And this is when we cover cases, we cover it when something happens. People ask about the Crumbly case and the Vallow case. When stuff happens, we will jump on here to talk about it. Spy C. Dre just showed up at the end. They're going to go back and watch. This is what everybody else should do. If you just jumped on, go back and watch with Spy C. Dre. Get in the comments because I am going to check them out again later. I appreciate all you coming on, and check back here in about 4.5 hours. We'll talk some more. I'll answer more kind of AMA questions. We'll talk about Hurricane Ian and what's happening and what it looks like. We'll talk about that together and more at 4 o'clock. So check back then. Appreciate all you as always. Till then, I'm out of here.